Let's read the next chapter of Michael Morpurgo's Shadow. The next chapter is called You Must Come to England. Ammon. For weeks and weeks, that's how it went on. Somehow the dog just seemed to know that when I was alone, or when they were fast asleep, it was all right for her to come inside the cave. And she knew when to keep her distance too. She'd be sitting there in the mouth of the cave when I woke up every morning, and she'd come down with me to the stream. She'd have a good long drink and wait for me to bathe the wound in her leg. Then, so long as there was no one else about, she would come with me when I went off with the donkey to gather sticks for fire. But there were some days, particularly when my friends were around a lot, that I'd hardly see her at all, just an occasional glimpse of her in the distance, watching me. I'd miss her then, but it was good to know that she was still around, and sooner or later, every evening, she'd be there again at the mouth of the cave waiting for her food, waiting for Mother and Grandmother to fall asleep. Then she'd come in and she'd lie down beside me, her face so close to the fire that I thought she'd burn her whiskers. One morning I woke up early and found the dog was not there. And then I saw why. Grandmother was already awake. She was sitting up on the mattress with Mother still lying down beside her, and I could see Mother was upset, almost in tears. I thought that they'd had another quarrel maybe, or that Mother's back was hurting her again. But I soon learned what this was all about. They had talked about it often enough before, about the idea of Mother and me leaving Bamiyan and going to England on our own without Grandmother. She was far too old to come with us, she said. Grandmother would sometimes read out Uncle Mer's postcards from England. I have never met Uncle Mer. He is Mother's older brother, but I felt as if I had. I knew his story. He had left Bamiyan long before I was born. Everyone in the caves knew about Uncle Mer, how he had gone off as a young man to find a job in Kabul, that he had met and married an English nurse and a girl called Mina, and then gone off with her to live in England. He had never come back, but he had wrote often to Grandmother. Uncle Mer was her only son, so all his letters and postcards were very precious to her. She was always taking them out and looking at them. They had been brought over to her from time to time by Uncle Mer's friends when they were visiting from England, and she'd kept them hidden in her mattress with all her other precious things. She loved to show me the postcards of red buses or red-coated soldiers marching over bridges over the river in London. There was one she read to us over and over again. I remember almost every word of it. Whenever she read it, it started an argument. One day, Grandmother would read, "You must all come to England. You can live in our house. Mina and I have plenty of room for everyone. There is no war here, no fighting. My taxi business is good now. I have money I could send. I could help you come." And Mother would always argue. "I don't care about Mir and his postcards. And anyway, haven't I told you, and told you, I'm not going anywhere without you. When your legs are better. God willing, then maybe then. If you wait for my legs to get better, you will never go," Grandmother would argue back. "I am your mother, but your father would say the same if he was still with us. I am only asking you to do what I say because it is what he would say. I am old. I have had my time. I know this. I feel it inside me. These legs will never walk again like they did. You and Ammon must go. There is nothing for you in the place except hunger, cold and danger. You know what will happen if you stay. You know the police will come again. You go to England, to Mer. You will be safe there. He will look after you. You will be far from the danger, far from the police. Listen to what Mer is telling us. There, the police will not put you in prison and beat you. There, you will not live in a cave like an animal. Mother often tried to interrupt her, and Grandmother hated that. One day I remember she became really angry as I'd ever seen her. "You should have some respect for your old mother," she cried. "You expect Ammon to do as you say, don't you? Don't you? Well, now you must do as I say. I tell you, I will be in God's hands soon enough. You do not need to stay. God will look after me, as he will look after you on your journey to England." She reached in under her dress and brought out an envelope, which she had emptied onto the blanket beside her. I had never seen so much money in all my life. Last week, Mer's friend came again with another card, and this time with some money too. Enough, he says, to get you out of Afghanistan, through Iran and Turkey, and all the way to England. And on the outside of the envelope here, he has written the phone numbers of people he says you must contact in Kabul, in Tehran, in Istanbul. They will help you. And you must take these too. She was taking off her necklace, pulling the rings from her fingers. "Take these, and I should also give you the jewels that I have been keeping for you all this time. Sell them well in Kabul, and they will help you to buy your freedom. They will take you away from all this fear and ignorance. It is fear and ignorance that kills people in their hearts and makes them cruel. Take father's donkey too. It is what he would have wanted. You can sell him when you do not need him anymore. Do not argue with me. Take them. Take the envelope. Take the money. Take the jewels. Take my beloved grandson, and just go. And God willing, you will get to England safely." In the end, Grandmother managed to persuade Mother that we should at least speak to Uncle Mer on the phone. So the next time we went into town to the market, we phoned him from the public phone. Mother let me talk to him when she had finished. In my ear, Uncle Mer sounded very close by. I remember that. He talked to me in a very friendly way, as if he'd known me all my life. Best of all, he told me he supported Manchester United, and that was my team. And he had even seen Ryan Giggs, and my best hero too, David Beckham. He said that he'd take me to a match and that he'd let us stay with him and Mina as long as we needed to, until we could find a place of our own. After I talked to him, I was so excited. All I wanted to do was go to England, go right away. After the phone call, Mother stopped to buy some flour in the market, and I walked on. When I turned around, after a while I could see if she was coming, I saw one of the stallholders shouting at her, waving his hands angrily. I thought it was an argument about money, that maybe she'd been shortchanged. They were always doing things like that in the market. But it wasn't that. She caught me up and hurried me away. I could see the fear in her eyes. "Don't look round, Ammon," she said. "I know this man. He is Taliban. He is very dangerous." "Taliban?" I said. "Are they still here?" I thought the Taliban had been defeated long ago by the Americans and driven into the mountains. I couldn't understand what she was saying. "The Taliban, they are still here, Ammon," she said. She could not stop herself from crying now. "They are everywhere, in the police, in the army. Like wolves in sheep's clothing. Everyone knows who they are, and everyone is too frightened to speak. That man in the market, he was one of those who came to me in the cave and took your father away and killed him. I turned around to look. I wanted to run back and tell him face to face that he was a killer. I wanted to look him in the eye and accuse him. I wanted to show him I was not afraid. "Don't look," Mother said, dragging me on. "Don't do anything, Ammon. Please, you'll only make it worse." She waited until we were safely out of town before telling me more. "He was cheating me in the market," she said, "and when I argued, he told me that if I do not leave the valley, he would tell his brother and he would have taken me to prison again. And I know his brother only too well. He was the policeman who put me in prison before. He was the one who beat me and tortured me. It wasn't because of the apple you stole, Ammon. It was so that I would not tell anyone about what his brother had done to your father, so that I would not say that he was Taliban. What can I do? I cannot leave grandmother, and she cannot look after herself. What can I do? I held her hand to comfort her, but she cried all the way home. I kept telling her it would be all right, and that I would look after her. That night I heard mother and grandmother whispering to each other in the cave and crying together too. When they finally went to sleep, the dog crept into the cave and lay down beside me. I buried my face in her fur and held her tight. It will be all right.